reality radio, everyone is a star.
I know that's right.
On your smooth soul and R&B station. On the World Wide Web.
Access granted.
In Touch Radio.
The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host, guests, and callers who are responsible for their content and do not reflect the opinions of In Touch Radio or its staff.
Yeah, live on In Touch News Radio, reality radio, wherever I could be a star. Good morning. This is your co-host Clinton Paris for Straight Up the Middle. Got my main man, Sweet Pete, that was back in studio. Good morning, Pete. How you feeling, my brother?
Oh man, I'm feeling pretty good. Last week, I want to give a shout out right quick to the University of Tampa.
Okay.
The athletic director for 19 of the last 21 years that the Young Lions organization has been in existence.
Okay.
University of Tampa has hosted an all-day basketball camp where they opened up the gym to the Young Lions organization. So that's where I was last week. They had over 100 kids there. They gave away something like 15 skateboards, helmets, all that. But a lot of people don't know that I was with Carvey Upshaw and a lot of them. But UT has quietly supported that organization for years. And this year they went in the big gym.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
I did a couple
like the
of
Bob Martinez?
Yeah, I had a couple of Wilt Chamberlain free throw opportunities there, you know.
I would have loved to see
it was
that.
beautiful. The youngest kid was 4.
Okay.
And they have some kids that probably we're going to be reading about as they go in the AAU too. So I wanted to give a shout out to that.
Outstanding. Listen, I mean, there's so many organizations.
You know, we stay busy.
Yeah,
you know?
right. I mean, if you're sitting home, I mean, I really feel for people. I come in here sometime and I just think about all the 3, 4, 5 places you can go and be on any given day. And congratulations, Peter, and it's good to have you back in here. You know, it's been tough for me to get near Republican. You know, they don't like to come near me, so I'm happy to have you back in studio to get close by. And before we go too far, I want to give a shout out to. Unfortunately, we lost an icon in the local Tampa Bay community, Kappa brother Clarence Lee, just a phenomenal guy who Pete just really impacted our community.
Absolutely.
We're gonna miss Brother Lee. So I just want to give a shout out to the Lee family and just wish them well. And for all those people out there listening, if you're on your way to Newpnick today over at All People's Park, we're gonna be lifting his spirit up and having a good time. In the name of Kappa, remembering our brother Clarence Lee. But, Pete, there's been a lot of stuff happening since I had you in here. I mean, I don't even know what it's... my mind is running in 50 directions.
Well, let's get to the one that this fake brother that's trying to run for president.
You talking about Tim Scott?
Absolutely.
The brother's pretty dark-skinned to be a fake brother, Pete. I mean... You know,
Skin has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, right. Skin color. I mean, because dark-skinned brothers really have made a comeback. You know, after that whole Al B. Sure and, you know, some of that era in the 80s, brothers came back strong with Wesley Snipes. Denzel helped us out a little bit, you know, he brown skin. And but now we get Tim Scott jumping in politics. And what is your issue with him
Two of the
running?
most dangerous brothers we have that hide under the Republican Party. They're proteges of Clarence Thomas. And, you know, all the parties have racists in them and stuff like that. Democrats, Independents, Republicans. But I can tell you from an African-American male standpoint, if our future depended on Byron Donald, Tim Scott, we'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
So Tim, he knows he's not going to be the presidential candidate. But the way it's set up, especially after that Supreme Court ruling way back that said you can keep all the money and hide the donors, you know.
Right.
Spend it however you want it. That's all he's doing it for. But he came out with something. I think last night when he spoke to the NRA or something, that he was going to be the most most vigilant anti-abortion candidate. Some other stuff that he came out with. But it's a danger. He's a danger to the future of black men. We used to talk about Senator Edward Brooke, and we used to talk about some Republicans black Republicans that were dangerous. But this guy, when you don't acknowledge or you fake acknowledge that I understand I've been pulled over before or whatever, and you just faking it to make it, that's an issue with me. he had an opportunity with Donald Trump in to push for more black judges. And when you look at true conservatism, especially in courts, black judges, even the infamous Turn 'em Loose Bruce in New York, okay? But they did a survey one time that black judges gave out a little bit more than the average sentence. Tim Scott, with Donald Trump, never pushed for more African-American judges. And when you look at the total amount of African-American judges that Trump put in, I think it was a total of 3.
So if you think about Tim Scott, 'cause somebody said this morning, the Republican Party right now, for where it is now, Peter, not your old Republican Party of true fiscal conservative, moral values, strong defense, small government Republicans, not those guys.
No,
the current one,
the current ones.
The current Republican Party needs a racial pacifier. It needs somebody black. They can't get Clarence Thomas to do it right now because he's too old. He won't do it. But they need somebody to come out and say racist things happen, but there is no systemic racism, and you're not part of that systemic racism.
Well, you don't have that.
I know you don't. But you need someone. So the Republican Party needs him, though, because when you have the young guys, Pearson and Jones in Tennessee, stand up and say, look, guys, your whole approach to this reeks of condescension and looking down and less than and a superiority complex. Republicans then need a Tim Scott to come by and say, wait a minute. There may be racism someplace, and it may happen, but the system isn't, and you all are not part of anything that's racist.
But the key is that when you look at black Republicans like Tim Scott and Byron Donald, but particularly Tim Scott, they only talk about racial issues after the fact.
Stop for a minute right there. Give me then the current example of what a properly acting Republican, in the name of someone who you would say, well, that's the way you should right now, today, not in the past. I'm talking not J.C. Watts or somebody, but a current today Republican that says, now this guy gets it.
In the Congress, you don't have one.
I didn't think so. What about in some other content? I don't see him on Fox, Newsmax, and maybe I shouldn't even mention those sources. I'm trying to find out where is the model for a Republican in the forefront because what I'm thinking, Pete, is those people have been run off, and the only way that a guy like Tim Scott can survive is go to near Fort Sumter to announce his exploratory committee for the president, where the Civil War began, and then talk about how America racial history is a non-factor.
Well, that's why when you look at what happened in Tennessee with those 2 young black guys, I thought about the beginnings of.
And let me use names: Justin Pearson and Justin Jones.
I thought about them like the beginning of the old SNCC movement.
Okay.
So you look at what happened. Instead of Tim Scott trying to balance it out, an unusual thing happened in Tennessee.
Okay.
White evangelical Christians have been going online signing a petition denouncing the Republican Speaker of the House for the way those 2 young guys were treated. That stunned everybody because, Tennessee is the founding state of the Klan.
Correct.
So when you see that dynamic, it can go 2 ways. One, they realize that young white kids are not going, now they may go to the turning point, but they're not engaging in evangelical Christian movement.
Oh, right.
Okay, they're not doing that. And then the other thing is that a lot of young white kids are going more independent than Democratic. So if that combination all shakes out like it naturally should, the independent voters are going to really have more of a say. And then all of a sudden now you got a rising of the youth movement. And so guys like Tim Scott, Byron Donald, all those Candace Owens and Burgess Owens and all that fake stuff.
I call them profiteers. They're just profiteers.
Well, you blame them. That's part of the political. That's part of the political system and the political spoils. So, those of you who And let me make it clear, because I haven't been in the studio in a long time. I'm a old school, balanced, right of center, conservative, Republican, black Republican. One of the reasons people ask me, why did you change? Because I saw so many black Democrats who claimed that they were going to look out for blue-collar, grassroots black people. When they got elected, especially if they got reelected, they dogged us out.
Stop right there for a minute, Pete. Because I didn't even set up the trap. I didn't realize there was a trap being set,
Well,
as I would, but you just ran into it because I want to know what Republican in the modern era has looked out for black people and working class folks.
well, it
Because if you're going to hold Democrats to a standard, Pete, because I've heard that argument before from Republicans, tell me then who on the Republican side is meeting the mark when it comes to helping.
lately, you got to look at a guy like just finished his second term, Republican governor out of Massachusetts, Charlie Baker. You got to look at a guy that just finished 2 terms in a heavily Democratic state, Larry Hogan, in Maryland.
Okay.
So most people, it's generally like most black adults, they're generally right of center. And those 2 governors prove that you can.
But they bring so much negative baggage to the black community with that minor little bit of positivity.
Well, they didn't, because when you look at a state like Massachusetts,
but they were in a democratically dominated state, though, Pete. So they're governor, but they've got to bend to the Democratic electorate in office. That in Maryland, the same thing.
But you got to look at the percentage. What I look at in those kind of races, you look at the percentage of black voters that cross party lines and vote. Now, most people these days, when I talk about issues, they're interested in voting for people who are going to make a difference regardless of party label. Safe streets, good schools, stuff like that. And what people don't realize is that in the black community, there's more, and it's been going like that for a while, there's more of an opinion of independent schools, free schools, charter schools, whatever. I remind everybody, in the liberal icon city of Washington, D.C., also known as Chocolate City, guess what? The schools there, the favorite schools there are homeschooling and charter schools.
Well, we won't know, but you
see.
got to have to fast forward, Pete, a whole generation to see whether or not the charter schools, the homeschooling stuff, and I got a feeling that this homeschooling, unless you got a whole bunch of kids at the house, but if you got little Johnny, little Sarah sitting at home just with you for the next 12 years, and you're gonna throw them out in society, that's gonna be interesting to see how that plays itself out.
Well, we need even locally. I tell people all the time, I want to see a reemergence even more vibrant than ever before of a class of voters, particularly African American voters, under 35, that take the lead. Now, people will say, well, they're going to leave the old people out. No, they won't leave us out if we afford them an opportunity to look at the whole big picture. Because they're going to need us.
Here's what you're going to need, though. All people they get motivated because there is an issue that they feel pressing on them. And that's what I was most disappointed with Tim Scott. I didn't hear anything. He comes in, he made this speech like there's an acceptance of these general principles of life that propel you to being elected. And the biggest one is this, Pete. You want to get elected? People need to like you. You need to be likable. And I don't know who and where, besides, like I said, him being a racial pacifier. I don't know where he finds a base that's willing to leap over DeSantis, Nikki Haley, I just don't know where he finds his base at. You know,
he didn't intend to. He realized that he's just a pacifier.
Yeah.
But it's about the money now.
About the money, and I turn it to your problem. Listen, we got to take our first break of the morning. If you're listening in, look, we really want you to take the opportunity to call in. The call-in number is 813-444-9588. Got some more stuff to talk about. We done Tim Scott's is Mitch Connell gonna make it back? Dianne Feinstein gonna retire? We got the Justins up there. In Touch News Radio, Reality Radio, everybody's a star. We'll be right back after this quick break. Hey, they're on the way, man. Donuts coming.
Radio, where you can listen to a cruising flow of smooth soul and jazz, today's R&B, a fun touch of hip-hop and gospel.
All my music on one station.
Giving you a buffet of music, news, and entertainment. We're In Touch Radio.
Hey, Tampa Bay, let's turn up. Are you ready to party with a purpose? Join us for the all-white affair. Hey there, this is Anjali, Queen Bee from 95.7 The Beat.
And TV host Marlo. Join us at American Social on Sunday, April 23rd at 5 p.m. Tickets available now on Eventbrite by searching White Party by the Water.
They're going fast, so don't wait. Proceeds benefit the best program. Tell your friends, get your sexiest white outfit on, and we'll see you there.
By now, we're all aware of the dangers of COVID-19. Like others with existing health issues, cancer patients are at a high risk due to their compromised condition. If you are newly diagnosed with cancer, your care likely can't wait. Moffitt Cancer Center is the best place for your cancer concerns and to provide guidance to help you plan your next steps. We're here for you. Call 1-888-456-2839 or go to moffitt.org/here-for-you.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecue? Come see them two brothers on the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
In Touch Radio is smooth soul.
Rocking your radio on the sounds of soul.
Playing your favorite R&B. In Touch Radio.
Yes, it is me live in the studio. Well, look, folks, we're busy all the time, but we don't forget what it takes to try to make a difference in our community and beyond our local community, and that's what In Touch Radio News is all about.
Yes.
The In Touch Radio and the newspaper and the whole bit. I'm looking at this front page, the latest is Brain Expansion Scholarship Training. And they got this white party that is coming up. This is a big fundraiser. You know what I mean, Clint? That's a big fundraiser. So I'm looking forward to going to that. I'm not going to even ask Daryl for tickets because his name is, it used to be DJ. Now it's D-No. But anyway, let's get these other guys.
We're glad to have you back in. And for if everybody out there listening, look, if you want to call in and be a part of the show, when we say reality radio, we mean, it is open to the public. So there's a call-in number, 813-444-9588. So write that number down. Don't wait till you want to call to write it down. Put the number down somewhere as you listen, and if you're inspired, call in 813-444-9588. Now, look, Pete, I've told people before, if you're nervous about calling in, because I've always been a show caller, you can be somebody else. You can be Carlos, you can be Ricky, you can be Bobby, Sarah, Nancy, whatever you want to be, and just express your opinions. Trust me, all opinions are welcome. So if you want to call in, 813-444-9588. I want to detour from I know we talked about some topics. And two things that are in play right now, I think are just kind of interesting to me. I heard the other day, they're pressuring Dianne Feinstein about stepping down from her committee chair seat, and also about going ahead and resigning. That's one thing. She's 89 years old. And then we also have Mitch McConnell, who they've announced may be leaving his leadership position. He's never got come back since he had that bad fall. Again, very, very up in age, Pete. How do you think those impact people's thoughts about Joe Biden and how tenuous his age makes him being able to complete another term?
Well, not only Joe, but remember, Trump is right along with Joe Biden.
He just don't act it, though.
He just don't act it. When you take a look at a case like Dianne Feinstein.
Okay.
Excellent senator, what have you. She got, she just, when your health takes effect, like it has taken, even when you're young and you have shingles, that's an issue. But when you're talking about somebody over 80 that gets shingles and everything, that's a real issue. There's certain ailments, like I got back problems. That affects my thinking and how active I want to be in sports.
Okay.
I can still be active in a different way, maybe shuffleboard. Or maybe just taking a tennis racket and hit the tennis in a racket court thing.
Okay.
But hard other stuff I can't do.
Right.
And so when you realize that, then you physically, then you step up your mental game.
Okay. So that's why you're so sharp. Okay.
She hasn't done that.
Yeah. Well, she's 89. Though. She may have stepped it up for a while, but
well, we know you had a frat brother, a very well respected guy, Mr. Carrington, I believe.
Yes. Herbert Carrington the second.
The daddy, yes. Granddaddy.
He
lived to be, 100 years old, something like that?
Yeah.
And even in his 90s, sharp.
Now listen, Pete, you mentioned that.
I'm just saying.
Y'all may remember last fall I went to my aunt's 100th birthday.
Right.
And I'm going up to visit her tomorrow. When I get there, 100 years old, I don't doubt she's going to be outside doing some stuff in her yard and getting around, and you would this way, and you'll see a bunch of 80-year-olds, her kids, they're on walkers trying to keep up with her. So you're right, you can get up there. It's a
spiritual mindset, but you gotta look at those politicians like McConnell and Feinstein and all. Once they get in power and influence, they don't really want to give it
up. And I can understand that. Nobody wants. I mean, it's a great comment that the King of France made to the President of the United States, that he didn't know once you had power, he said you could give it away. Once you have it, either you die with it or it kills you, but you don't give it back. And my question, though, is how is that going to affect the way people look at Joe Biden?
Well, I think he has a hidden group of people, although he's older, but he has a hidden group of voters within the independent ranks and probably in the true Republican Party that are moderate, that if he ran again, he would get their vote. And I'm going to tell you why. He's not, when you look at certain things they've done lately, he's not a flaming liberal. Never has been. He's been a conservative. He's considered a conservative Democrat for a long time. Now they say he's moderate, whatever. But if he was to switch party labels, Joe would be considered a moderate Republican or a old line conservative Republican.
Well, in the old Republican Party,
right.
Here's my thought. I'm gonna say this though: is people aren't really gonna vote for Joe. The Republican Party, as it's currently constructed, scares people. You look at how, and I'm going to dive off.
You're right.
They're scared. This thing that like DeSantis thinks, because you don't have anyone really pushing back on some of this craziness you do, he's done in Florida. For example, he goes, "Yeah, I'm teaching Disney a lesson." Well, around the country, people are going, "Wait a minute, why are you going after a corporation for political speech or what free speech issues?" That might economic, but that dynamic. He's passed this. He slammed through tort reform, cut statute of limitations on certain kinds of lawsuits and things of that nature. This whole transgender thing, abortion, hammering it. So what happens is you go, well, if this guy gets elected president, who knows what he'll do? Donald Trump just moved an embassy. But maybe this guy comes in and says, hey, we're withdrawing our troops from the DMZ. Or he comes in and says something else that's just outlandish. We're going to invade Mexico because of fentanyl. The level of outlandishness he might do, and I think no one in the Republican Party is looking sane, mature, as if they're...
Well, there's two Republican parties.
And honorable one, your group's gone, Pete. They're gone.
We'll be back. And remember I told you and our famous producer, Dr. Bezel here, I told y'all last year that all this stuff was setting up as part of a preliminary scene for a race war.
Pete, I don't know.
Policy-wise and physical-wise. And y'all keep
we mean policy-wise. I think, but somebody, hold on though. But see, as long as you have people like,
we got a call.
As long as you got people like what's the guy, Tim Scott giving Republicans cover, you won't have that. Good morning, caller. Thank you for calling into In Touch News Radio, Reality Radio. You on Straight Up the Middle. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Good morning. This is Carl the trucker. I was just calling in and I want to chime in on the topic here and congratulate Mr. Edwards on his return. It's nice to see a Republican that has a decent thought process.
And listen, though, is Tim Scott, does he have, because you're out of Georgia, Tim Scott have Georgia connections? Well, didn't he start out in Georgia, then he snuck off over to Carolina?
I don't know, but he do have roots in Georgia. Yeah, he do.
Yeah,
but they don't claim him as a representative. But I think he also has to get the approval of Lindsey Graham and all that. His handler and all that stuff. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think? Do you think he has a chance? Do you think Tim Scott had? And if he did, who would vote for Tim? Who's going to vote for Tim Scott over Trump?
Nobody. I don't think we will ever have a dark-skinned as Tim Scott as president. No, I mean you'll show up and you'll be a candidate. You won't get past the primary. No.
Dark-skinned guy. Yeah, you trying to say the brother don't? Okay, yeah, got it. Though.
Yeah,
so you don't see the base though. Anyway, so what's on your mind this morning? I know you're a Biden guy, so you probably been celebrating Biden in Ireland. Did you go get your green hat and dance around in a kilt or something? How'd you celebrate him going to Ireland?
I think there's a connection where that's something that he has our heritage.
Yes, he does. So okay, Carl. So what's on your mind, Carl? What you got for us?
So but you were speaking about Republican Party. Whenever you speak of Republican Party, first thing coming to mind is races.
Yeah, the current one.
Right. And with most of the your speaker, I can't tell you his name. Your speaker there. I mean, these guys are because you never really seen any black Republican until they needed to stick one out there.
Let me ask you. So, do you think that the Republican Party went and encouraged him to get out front to help with their image regarding race? I hadn't thought about that, but that may that may.
But that's right. That's a possibility. They need that. They need someone if they want to turn the party around. That's if.
Got it.
I got a question for you.
Got
a question for you because it comes up in my McDonald's coffee group all the time. What is more dangerous to the future of the black community? Opening racism within the Republican Party or hidden racism by those who claim they're liberal and our friends in the Democratic Party? I'll leave it and let you answer that.
Wow, that's heavy there, P.
Are you with me, Carl?
No, I didn't hear you.
What is more dangerous to the future? What is more dangerous to the future of the black community? Is it the racism that's being shown openly now with the Republican Party, or those who claim to be liberal and all in the Democratic Party that have more racist than they show?
Okay, let me see if I think the most dangerous thing when the Republican Party can convince your blacks that party is a beneficiary to them, and they go out and try to recruit other voters.
Yeah. That's heavy, Pete. That's a heavy question. Now, listen, Carl, we want to appreciate you listening in, always calling in, but more than that, you keeping the stuff safe on the road. Keep that thing between the wheels, and let somebody get in traffic. They need to get over. Back your truck up a little bit. Let people change lanes. You guys kind of bully people around on the highway. So just be thoughtful when you're out there.
Get them stacks, my brother. Get them stacks. That's all I can tell you.
All right, man. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this break. In Touch News Radio, reality radio, everybody can be a star.
You're listening to In Touch Radio.
Call Rick Asbury. Call Rick Asbury. In an accident on 02, call Rick Asbury. Football, trying to take it to school, call Rick Asbury. Call Rick Asbury. Call Rick Asbury. 813-248-6300. 813-248-6300. Call Rick Asbury. Call Rick Asbury. Get an accident, don't do, call Rick Asbury.
Get an accident, don't do, call Rick Asbury. A legal and medical referral service anywhere in the state of Florida. Dial 813-248-6300. Call Rick Asbury.
Hi, I'm Angela Birdsong, and during the week, they call me the Medicare lady. I help people successfully transition onto Medicare, sometimes Medicaid. I also help people with life insurance, long-term care insurance, and annuities. Please do not try to navigate Medicare without me. It's complicated. 813-476-4837.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call Herman White at 961-6661. That's 961-6661.
In Touch Radio, where you can listen to a cruising flow of smooth soul and jazz, today's R&B, a fun touch of hip-hop and gospel.
All my music on one station.
Giving you a buffet of music, news, and entertainment. We're In Touch Radio.
Well, I'm back. This is yours truly.
They have just hogging the mic, man. I got the camera. The camera's on me, Pete.
Keep the camera on there. I'm retired. So,
I got to get the camera. I got the camera. And we're back live on In Touch News Radio. About to have a studio brawl up in here. Listen, so somebody had this brilliant idea to add cameras to the studio. We were okay with microphones because we got our own microphone. Oh, yeah. But when we got the cameras, it's split in the middle. So anyway, Pete, listen, I'm really excited to have you back in the studio, man. It's even though, like I said, I am my favorite person to listen to. It is good to hear somebody else's voice in your head sometimes. So glad
you gotta have balance.
Well, I'm looking for the balance. I can't find the balance, though. I can't. Everybody's over everybody seems to agree with me, Pete. Even you.
Yeah,
listen. So if you're out there listening in, look, give us some more balance. You can call in 813-444-9588. I never got your opinion, Pete, on what played out in Tennessee over the last 2 weeks. Yeah, I know you're watching it, and I'm just saying that watching that, and I don't want to get predictions first. Let's start. Hold the predictions. Let's talk about some visceral responses you felt and thought as you heard about what was happening. And let me walk out the situation.
Mm-hmm.
You've got two newly elected young black state representatives in Tennessee, in the Tennessee House. They come there having emerged out of a protest movement, Black Lives Matter, social justice, and finally getting fed up enough that they run for office. And they both run for office out of severely, predominantly black districts. They get there and they find out that within the legislative body, there are an immense number of archaic rules that govern how things get done, who gets to do those things, when they get done, who gets to talk, how long you get to talk. And in very short order, Pete, they realize this is a bunch of made up subjective stuff for you all to control getting what you want out of the legislature when they get there. And so what they find is their time is often being the last time, their microphones are being cut off, and that the things that are being discussed are just circling the old stuff that keeps going around. And then you had that shooting at the Tennessee school. And people, students, came down there to protest. And instead of them taking up and listening to those protesters, they continued with the same discussions. What they said was, we had an agenda, and we were going to follow that day's agenda. Well, when these young men tried to talk about something that was not on that agenda, they were shut off their microphones, and they were called out of order. Because, you can only talk about what's on the agenda.
Right.
So then they commenced to end up on the floor with the bullhorn in the well when someone else had been recognized to speak. They were joined by some other people visiting, and anyway, it became a chaotic scene, and they went into recess. And in recess, the Republicans sat down and said, well, something has to be done because these guys are a problem. They're continually disrupting the normal order we follow, right? They're disrupting the normal order we follow. Not that they disagreed necessarily with the substance and all that kind of, but they're not following the rules. They're not allowing us to just manipulate everything that we want to do the way that we want to do it because we just say there's rules and you got to follow the rules. And these guys are like, well, I don't really know the rules yet, and you keep changing the rules to fit whatever you want to have happen. So they decide they're going to vote these guys out, Pete. And in their caucus meeting, they had the votes to vote them out. But my understanding is they were told, yeah, but based on the rules, their county can just send them back down here if we vote them out. And if we vote them out, we're going to look like racist. So they said, well, we'll vote out the lady too then, because she was with them. We'll vote them out and we'll vote her out.
White lady.
Right. So we won't look like we're targeting them. We won't look racist. But when they got on the floor and read the charges that they read against the white lady didn't match. So somebody flipped their vote and said, look, I'm not voting for this because that's not what she did. She went on the well, she didn't have the microphone and whatever else. So that's why she did those two, I think it's 2 votes flipped for her.
Right.
So now they look like racist, right? But before they voted them out, they knew they'd be coming back. But they went ahead and did it anyway. And I'm just trying to figure out what, besides the idea, it's kind of like Kunta Kinte. I know we're going to ruin this slave by cutting his foot off. But the message to the other slaves is, don't get out of line. That's what the visual response I had was get back in line.
Well, here's the way I look at it. First of all, doesn't matter whether it's a Democratic controlled legislature or Republican control. Over the years, when you look at it historically from different state points of view, those rules have been there. I think the 2 young brothers, they should have did their homework more in advance of knowing what the setup was in the legislature. It happens in Florida.
Now, why do you say that? Because you say that as if something went wrong.
I'll tell you what happened. They realized that when one of the guys, I believe, from Nashville said, came back, and he was straight up with it, and I appreciated that. And I think that's why he got a lot of white Christians signing that petition against the way they kicked him out, because he said, I realized that I went too far within the issues in the well. However, they went too far because in this particular case, they didn't follow the procedures where it should have went to the ethics committee.
Correct, and normally.
And so when you have a young black person, particular black male, that stands tall, courage, and say that, he's going to generate a more diverse group of people following him in the future, because he understood that, yeah, I went out of line, but what's the greater sin? Me being out of line with the bullhorn and all,
right?
Or the greater sin is that they didn't consistently follow the rules that was part of the other piece. You know?
Yeah, I thought it was a calculated. Let me say this though.
Well, it was calculated on both ends.
Yeah. I mean, brilliant calculation really is. They almost made themselves into martyrs. Like the Republicans said, look, it's kind of like your child sometimes. Sometimes you got to discipline them because I got to discipline them. And so this is what they forced Republicans' hand on. And the Republicans said, we got to do something. Because if we don't do something, man, is this going to get ugly. It's just 2 of them sitting there now. But if it's 10 of them or 15 or whatever the number may be, we really got to deal with this. We got to try to nip this in the bud. We got to try. We may not get there. You know, it's kind of like, I'll give you a good example. It's kind of like America shutting down communism when it started to grow in America, right? Because we got to nip it in the bud with private property ownership rights and all that kind of stuff. But those guys, though, had to convince the world of something else, that they had the requisite courage to stand up in the face of things that might be to their own detriment for what they believed in.
Now, I think out of the 2 guys, the brother that had the afro looked like a young H-Rap Brown or somebody with that, I think he's going to be more effective than the other. Because you got to remember, one of them was from Nashville, Tennessee,
right,
and the other one was from Memphis. So the guy from Memphis, I believe, he reminds me of the Ford family, the black family, Harold Ford and all that.
Yes.
On political power. The other guy that's with the afro and all, I think he reminds me of somebody who can carve a path between old school people and the up-and-coming revival of young people. And particularly in the South, like a place like Tennessee or something like that, states like Tennessee, who the white kids thinking may be available to be recruited because of the colleges. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, he fits the demographic. He definitely has an appeal to him. You know,
the other guy, I'm not sure whether that was more pomp and circumstance. I don't think he can sustain it. And I told a couple of young guys in our Crawford group, when you're coming out as a black man in politics, you can look at H. Rap Brown, you can look at James Farmer, you can look at Stokely Carmichael, you can look at all of them. You have to have a mental tenacity to sustain all the hell you
Here's the other thing I'm
going
to say this to you. I'm going to say this to you. You also need the right event. Without the school shooting, you'd never have the circumstances where they have the position to stand on. You know, it's kind of like the fireman. Right. A good fireman needs a burning building.
And before we go to break, not only the shooting, but you have to take a look at, and it's painful to say this to some people, but where the shooting took place. It wasn't a public school. It was a Christian, white predominantly.
Right. So here he is fighting
for.
What I'm saying? Yeah. So all those circumstances, and that's one of the things I think people say, well, you got to do something about DeSantis. You've not had the right circumstance to really galvanize people in opposition to DeSantis. Last week he voted on that doggone the abortion ban or whatever it is. You didn't hear Pete. You heard a bigger peep when he did tort reform for the lawyers yelling and screaming.
Well, if you look at that picture before we go to break of him signing that 6-week abortion ban.
Yeah.
Then see not one black woman in the picture.
Yeah. Well, ain't nothing up
and
there.
People don't realize that the black community is more anti-abortion than they are for abortion.
All right, In Touch News, hey, Pete, we're going to take a quick break. Last break of the show, got my man Peter with me.
No barbecue either.
No donuts, no barbecue, man. It's a sad day.
No concert tickets.
Yeah, man. You didn't even Taylor Swift, nothing. All right, we'll be back after this quick break. Hit your buttons, fellas. Hit your buttons. Hit your buttons.
Nestled in the heart of West Tampa, the Maduro Marauder Cigar Lounge offers a wide variety of premium cigars from Esteli, Nicaragua. In addition, the lounge offers a relaxed environment for you to come back, lay, chill, and relax and smoke a great cigar. Visit us at our brick and mortar location, 1944 West Main Street, Tampa, as well as online, www.maduromarauders.com.
Hey, Tampa Bay, let's turn up. Are you ready to party with a purpose? Join us for the all-white affair. Hey there, this is Angelique, Queen Bee from 95.7 The Beat.
And TV host Marlo. Join us at American Social on Sunday, April 23rd at 5 p.m. Tickets available now on Eventbrite by searching White Party by the Water.
They're going fast, so don't wait. Proceeds benefit the best program. Tell your friends, get your sexiest white outfit on, and we'll see you there.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, and welcome again to another edition of In Touch Radio. Yours truly, straight up the middle. And when I started this journey a couple of years ago, I couldn't get out of my mind by saying straight down the middle. But it's straight up the middle, and let me tell you why. When you're dealing with adversity, and you're in the middle of a storm and all like that, what you try to stay away from is rocky sideways stuff. So you got to go, straight up the middle, and until you get the right turn to come out ahead, health-wise and everything else. So that's the way we look at it in this show. We have listeners from all over the world, and today it's good to be back in the studio.
Yes.
And before we leave, we were talking about this the two guys from Tennessee. I asked a couple of young people, had they been paying attention to what was going on in the state of Tennessee?
Right.
They hadn't. They had very little of that on Instagram. And so it begs the question. I said it before. We're losing our coalition of voters to work with us. When you look at black people that are coming in from the countries like Haiti, the Dominican Republic, the Bahamas, and even Africa, their political stance or their voting interests and all, one of the things they do now is to make sure straight off the bat that they don't line with the normal black American interests. That's troubling to me. We don't have a coalition, even within our own community, of dealing with a couple of local issues, because we got black elected officials over and over and over again have gotten reelected, but they don't want to get their hands dirty on stuff.
Hold on for a minute. We just had a city council member voted out. What you mean get reelected?
Well, here's the thing.
What black leader gets that we have that's got, I won't say like an overextended tenure? Because recently, I think people have been like, "Hey, get it together."
Well, if you look at that recent city council election, he lost by less than 100 votes.
70 votes.
But come to find out that he really didn't do a lot of outreach advertising like perhaps he should have.
Well, it's easy to quarterback on the. I mean,
well, no, that was seen beforehand.
And in spreading his base, he really needed to get. You're running a campaign or you're elected and all that kind of stuff.
But I mean, these two guys, Clint, when you look at them. And you look at their hairstyles and all like that, they got potential. Yeah. But I think one of them
got an afro and one got a slick back. And
what I'm saying is, your dress when you're young with your mental awareness has to match up
Yes.
when you're talking with young people now. See, before integration, desegregation, or whatever you call it, that wouldn't be a big issue. But now when you look at social media and when you look at assimilation of colors all over the place and all, you got to do some things different. That's why when I run across young people and they call me OG, I have no problem with that because they realize that although I'm mature and much older than them, I can think just as modern as they can.
Go ahead on, Pete. Go ahead
I'm
on,
just
Pete.
saying,
Go ahead
and
on.
we need to do that more.
Absolutely.
But these two guys, I think they got a good future. But people got to realize.
But there are a lot of people that way. And I want to take the time real quick, Pete. Since you've been gone, you may have picked it up on the back end. There's a show following our show. The show is called Stay Woke.
And she's gotten conservative than I thought she would be.
Hey, how about it? Yeah, that show is hosted by Michelle Williams, who has been a stalwart in our community for decades, fighting and just making moves, and it's good to see that she's back on. But she has with her, though, somebody that you talk about, that next generation, none other than Walter Dunn III. Now, check this out, Pete. You don't know this. I'm going to give it to you. You ready?
Yeah.
And everybody listening. That's my cousin. Son, I don't want no funny business. You hear me? Y'all listening? So you listen to this show, you need to stick around because the brother has a phenomenal story. And we just going to talk about the Tampa part of that story, right?
I'm glad.
If we back that up, we back it into the long history of the Dunns coming to Tampa and with the journey that he's been on. And I would say this to all our young people, listen to each other. There's so much you all can learn, and he has teamed up with Michelle Williams. They're doing this program called Stay Woke, trying to make sure those young folks, Pete, you're talking about, you know, I mean, I can see, like I got a son, he's 22 years old. After my third word I say to him, I see his eyes just go click, click, and he's just checked out.
Right.
I'm still talking, and he's still sitting there nodding, but he can't hear a thing I'm saying.
Well, you know, you got to challenge their thinking all the time, and I
Yes.
encourage young people to challenge mine. And that's one thing I like about Michelle Williams. There are a lot of times I didn't agree with her.
Right.
But the power of having a healthy discussion.
Yes, that's the piece.
That
is the thing that people seem to have gotten afraid of. So I just want to encourage everybody, Pete. You're listening to Straight Up the Middle. Stick around and listen to Stay Woke. There's a transition period. You got Michelle Williams. She's been fighting in the trenches, and she's bringing this young brother along. That's phenomenal. And like I said, the fact that he's my cousin, I'm going to say it one more time out there, you need to take him serious because he is really going to be.
Is he an independent thinker?
Whatever, man. Watch out, man.
Did
Just
you
listen to
prepare
the show. Look
him?
out.
Did
Listen
you
to- no,
prepare
man is
him?
listen, man is his own person, Pete.
All right, did you prepare him that he's going to get whiplash?
Pete, thank you for
from the
coming
left
back,
and
Pete.
right.
Glad to have you here with us.
And
Hanging everybody.
next month I'll be back in the studio.
Outstanding. In Touch News Radio, reality
month.
radio, everybody's a star.
All right.
We'll see y'all next week. Take care. I'm gonna tell you the story.
Call Ricky. Ask Ricky. You need medical or a lawyer. I got the man to do the legwork for you. We tried the other ones before, so believe we hunted down 813-248-66.